What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 26, 2022. Big win for the Sixers on Christmas Day in front of a national audience. 119 to 112 over the Knicks. They got off to a little bit of a slow start, but was kind of happy and pleased the way they battled back. And then finally they just went on cruise control, which I feel that is their team. When they can turn it on like that and they have to play consistently like that, though, they are unstoppable. And I mean, you saw that. Once they it clicked, it was over for the Knicks. So hopefully that's more of what I want to see from this team. I know there's the story that came out about Harden wanting to return to Houston at some point, and I think that was more for a headline because if you look at the rest of like the kind of quote, it's in there if a deal with the Sixers doesn't come through. And to be completely honest, something like that, winning will cure a lot of that. So I'm not necessarily that concerned about it. To be completely honest, as an educator, there were certain times where I said, "Oh, I always wanted to go back home and teach in my hometown in Coatesville." Just for whatever reason, it never really panned out, and it is what it is. I'm in a good spot now, and that kind of went through. So I don't necessarily put a lot of, "Oh no, it's the end of the world" into that. I mean, said he wouldn't mind going play. I mean, for years, they said about Jimmy Rollins going back to Oakland to play. And whatever happened, he just kept signing. So I wouldn't necessarily, like I said, put a lot into that. I'm sure there's some truth to it. I'm sure there's other pieces that maybe were left out to make it a more sensational story or whatever. So no need to worry about that. Let's enjoy it. It was their 8th straight win. And they're clicking, and this is what we want to see. And when they went on that run to close out and all of a sudden build that lead in the fourth quarter, that is the Sixers team, and that's ultimately where we need and want them to play. Last thing on the Eagles game before we kind of wrap that up and move on to the Saints. As I'm having more time to reflect on that, I recorded that Christmas Eve night, not long after the game, so hadn't had time to think about it. And I do think we just need to move on. In the big picture, we just needed to win one of our last 3 games, so it wasn't necessarily a huge game as it could have been. And I don't know why it just wasn't with the whole Dallas thing this year. But it is what it is. We move on. I think mistakes all around. The defense didn't play well. I mean, they didn't make the stops when they needed to. Slay getting burnt on that 3rd and 30. Obviously, I'm sure he would love to have that back. I mean, the offense turned it over 4 times and still had them in position to win. So I think on the surface is one of the worst games they played all phases of the game all year. And they still were in it. They still should have won, in my opinion. And this was against an allegedly, and I'll say allegedly because I'm not sure how good the Cowboys are. And I don't feel the Cowboys beat the Eagles on Saturday. I feel the Eagles beat the Eagles. So allegedly a good team, and they're right there in it with a backup quarterback making a shit ton of mistakes. So we're all right. Let's put it behind us. We move on to the Saints. I'll begin kind of looking ahead and previewing that game starting tomorrow. But we got back-to-back games at the Link. Just need to win one of the 2 to clinch everything. I have a feeling they're going to do it, and I'm comfortable against both of these teams with Minshew playing quarterback. So if Hurts needs an extra day or a week or 2, let's go ahead and give it to him. But we are going back today to 1960, and before I get into this, we are going to be finishing up the year pretty much with all Eagles just because it's playoff and the historical aspects of that. There is going to be one ode to Temple coming up in a couple days. But today we're going back to 1960 for the NFL Championship game, the Eagles versus the Packers. The Eagles went 12-2 on the year, and they beat the Packers 17-13. It was the Eagles' first NFL championship and a championship game appearance since 1949. For the Packers, it had been since 1944. And kind of a cool story or a cool connection here. Both teams finished in last place 2 years before. So it was quick turnarounds for both teams. Ted Dean, the Eagles running back, went in, ran the ball in from 5 yards out late in the fourth quarter to give the Eagles the lead that they didn't give up. Green Bay was driving at the end of the game, got it inside the red zone, but there's a classic story or classic. I don't know if there's. You can see the video. It's grainy, but Chud Bednarik, who was just a bad motherfucker, tackled Jim Taylor, the running back, and basically there was seconds left, and he was just a big, tough dude, and just basically laid on him so he couldn't get up as time ran out, and then was like, okay, Taylor, game's over. You can get up now. But he played both sides of the ball, so Concrete Charlie was an awesome kind of guy. Couple key notes from this NFL championship. It was the last one played ever in Philadelphia. The Eagles never made it there, and then they went back. They went to the Super Bowl format where they played it in mostly warm weather cities or cities with domes. This was the only playoff loss for legendary coach Vince Lombardi. It was kind of the start of the Packers dynasty. This is when they started getting good. So he was 9-1 in the playoffs. The lone loss coming to Chuck Bednarik and the Eagles. And kind of even more in depth, and I know this is Philly based, but Lombardi was like, yep, that was my fault. There was a couple times, I guess, in Eagles territory where he went for it on fourth down instead of kicking a field goal. And he said, if I'd have taken the points when we had the chance, we would have won. So kind of maybe you can say that this game started and changed the trajectory of Vince Lombardi, because maybe if they won or he didn't kind of take the blame for that, maybe it would have played out differently for him. I mean, now they name the Super Bowl trophy after him. And finally, it would be 57 more years before the Eagles got back to the Super Bowl and won the NFL championship. So for years and years, basically my whole entire Eagles fandom until 2017, it was 1960. So it was an important pivotal moment in Eagles history, because nobody knew it would be 57 years before they won another one. They would have their shots. You had the 1980 team, the Buddy Ryan teams, Super Bowl 39, basically the entire Andy Reid era. But it was Dougie P that finally brought the championship home. But for now, on this day in 1960, the Eagles beat the Packers 17-13 to win their third NFL championship against the legendary Vince Lombardi. But as I said, as we move into tomorrow, I'll start looking at the Saints game, put that Dallas game in our rearview mirror. Hope everyone had a great Christmas yesterday, celebrating with family and friends. If you were working as an essential worker or first responder, thank you for your service. I appreciate it. Shout out to my cousin-in-law, Mike, who was out in the cold yesterday, helping to make sure we all had power to heat up our houses, run our TVs, crock pots, whatever you're having. So, Mr. Berger, thank you. I appreciate it. Go have yourselves a Monday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.